What if discipline isn't about control, but about love? Not punishment, not perfection, but devotion to something higher. What if discipline is the truest way you could ever say to yourself, I matter, my future matters, who I am becoming matters? You see, we live in a world that glorifies spontaneity and mocks structure. Do what you feel, they say, follow your impulses. But here's a truth that will outlast the trends. The undisciplined life may feel free, but it is directionless. And directionless freedom is not liberty, it's self-abandonment. Discipline is not the cage, it's the key. It's not about denying yourself joy. It's about aligning your actions with your deeper purpose. It's not about becoming rigid. It's about becoming rooted. Rooted in excellence. Rooted in truth. Rooted in the kind of life that can look itself in the mirror and say, I live with intention. I didn't waste what I was given. This podcast is not about rules. It's about power. The quiet, inner power of the person who chooses their thoughts, shapes their actions, and honors their future through every choice made in solitude. Today, we're going to explore discipline, not as a taskmaster, but as a mentor, a philosophy, a psychology, a way of life, and more than anything, the ultimate form of self-respect. Let's begin. To understand discipline, we must begin not with actions, but with awareness. True discipline does not begin with a schedule or a checklist. It begins in the soul, with the realization that within each of us, there are two selves. One is loud, impatient, always hungry for the pleasures of the moment. The other is quieter, more patient, but it is the part of you that dreams, the part that longs to become someone worthy of your own respect. Discipline is the daily decision to listen to that second self, to silence the noise of distraction and heed the whisper of destiny. Philosophers throughout time have understood this dual nature of the human being. They taught that true freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from mastery over the self. To be disciplined is to rule your own inner kingdom, not to suppress your desires, but to guide them, not to reject your emotions, but to elevate them to serve a higher aim. Discipline is not about denying the self. It's about transcending the lower self. It's the art of choosing what matters most over what feels good now. The inner dialogue of discipline says, yes, I could take the easy road. Yes, I could give in, but I choose differently because I'm becoming someone I deeply respect. This is not just behavior. This is identity. This is a form of inner nobility. When no one is watching, when there is no praise, no reward, no recognition, what choices do you make? That is where discipline lives. To live with discipline is to hold yourself to a higher standard, even in silence. It is to choose integrity over indulgence, vision over emotion, duty over comfort. It is to build a private code known only to you and to follow it without needing applause. That is the essence of inner freedom. In a world where everything pulls you outward to consume, to compare, to chase, discipline calls you inward. It does not shout. It does not beg. It simply waits for the day you're ready to take yourself seriously. Discipline may begin with philosophy, but it is lived and often lost within the mind. To understand discipline, we must explore how the brain resists it, not because you are weak, but because you are wired for survival. The human mind is ancient. It evolved in a world where energy was scarce and danger was constant. So your brain developed shortcuts, mental patterns that favor comfort, safety, and ease. It prefers instant gratification. It avoids unnecessary exertion. And it rewards you for doing the bare minimum to stay alive. But here's the truth no one teaches you. You were not made merely to survive. You were made to rise. That's where the conflict begins. Between what your biology wants and what your destiny demands. You say you'll wake up early. Your brain says, stay in bed. Save energy. You say you'll finish your work. Your brain whispers, later is safer, rest is better. This tension is not failure. It is the battlefield of growth. Psychologists call it ego fatigue, the idea that willpower wears out like a muscle. But here's the breakthrough. Discipline doesn't come from brute force. It comes from alignment. When your actions are rooted in meaning, resistance weakens. When you know why you're doing something, how it becomes easier. Most people approach discipline as a tool, a method, a system, but true discipline begins with identity. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I believe I am? If you believe you're inconsistent, weak, easily distracted, your actions will bend to match that image. But if you begin to say, I am the kind of person who finishes what I start. I am the kind of person who respects their time. Your brain begins to rewire itself around that belief. That's the discipline loop. Identity creates behavior. Behavior reinforces identity. Each time you act in discipline, you send a message to your subconscious. This is who I am now. Small choices, silent victories, they're not insignificant. They are the bricks in the foundation of a new self. One of the greatest lies of our time is that you must feel like doing something in order to do it. That motivation is a prerequisite for action. But in truth, waiting for motivation is procrastination wearing a mask. Discipline is what steps in when motivation disappears. It says, I don't need to feel like it. I just need to begin. And ironically, once you begin, motivation follows. It's not the spark. It's the result. A mind in motion stays in motion. A life lived in discipline creates its own momentum. Your mind will resist effort. That's natural. But your spirit, it craves challenge. It hungers for mastery. And every time you choose discipline, you silence the voice of fear and amplify the voice of purpose. What does it mean to truly respect yourself? Not in the surface level way the world promotes, not through empty affirmations or loud declarations, but in the quiet, consistent way that builds trust within your own soul. True self-respect is born in the dark, when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when it's just you and a choice. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect because it says, I am worthy of effort. I am worthy of excellence. I am worthy of the life I am capable of living. Every time you set an intention and don't follow through, you send a message to your subconscious. I can't be trusted. You may not say those words out loud, but they echo quietly in the background. And over time, that echo becomes belief. Belief becomes behavior, and behavior shapes your destiny. When you break a promise to someone else, you feel guilty. But when you break a promise to yourself, you lose credibility. You begin to doubt your own power. Discipline restores that credibility. It says, when I say I'll do something, I mean it. It rebuilds the bridge between intention and action, between who you are and who you are becoming. There's a kind of suffering most people never name. It's the suffering of being at war with yourself, of knowing what you should do and doing the opposite, of craving progress, yet choosing sabotage. This is called cognitive dissonance. When your actions are out of alignment with your values, it creates stress, confusion, noise inside the mind. But when you live with discipline, something powerful happens. You begin to align. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, they begin to move in the same direction. Discipline brings internal coherence. It quiets the conflict. It brings peace not because life is easy, but because you are unified. You stop living in fragments. You become whole, clear, focused, and in that stillness, the path forward becomes visible. An undisciplined mind is easily hijacked. Hijacked by impulses, by trends, by the opinions of others. It says yes to everything and stand for nothing. But a disciplined person is not easily moved. They know what they value. They know what they will allow and what they will not. Discipline is a form of protection. It guards your time. It guards your energy. It guards your peace. Because not everything deserves your attention. Not every urge deserves your response. Not every invitation deserves your yes. When you live with discipline, you rise above the noise. You choose what's worthy of your effort. And in doing so, you declare to the world and to yourself, I respect the life I've been given too much to waste it. There is a sacredness to discipline that most overlook, a quiet dignity, a spiritual weight. Because at its core, discipline is not just about what you do. It's about who you are becoming and who you are honoring in the process. Every disciplined act, no matter how small, is a silent prayer, a prayer that says, "This life matters. This breath is not wasted. This day is not taken for granted." When you rise early to meet your responsibilities, when you reject comfort to pursue excellence, when you choose silence over distraction, focus over impulse, you're honoring something far bigger than productivity. You're honoring the gift of existence itself. Discipline is reverence. It is devotion, not perfection, but to purpose. Every life has struggle, but the undisciplined suffer meaninglessly. They spin in cycles, avoiding discomfort, yet trapped by it. But those who walk the disciplined path, they do not avoid pain. They transform it. They use suffering as fuel. They turn hardship into structure, discomfort into depth, delay into wisdom. Through discipline, suffering is no longer a prison. It becomes a teacher, a sculptor, a sacred fire that purifies and refines. There's humility in discipline, because discipline means acknowledging this. Left to my impulses, I will waste what is holy. It means you recognize the higher order things, that your life, your body, your mind, your time is not to be spent randomly. It is to be governed, guided, steward. Discipline is the posture of a soul that bows before meaning, that says, "I do not belong to chaos. I belong to order. I belong to purpose." Make no mistake, discipline can be lonely, because the deeper your commitment, the fewer who will understand it. The more you raise your standards, the more you will stand alone. But that loneliness, that silence, it is sacred. It is in those moments, when you choose what is right over what is easy, that you meet yourself. Not the version dressed for the world, but the eternal part of you, the soul that came here to grow. That's where dignity is born. Not in applause, but in solitude. Not in achievement, but in alignment. And in that alignment, discipline becomes something more than effort. It becomes peace. It becomes power. It becomes prayer. There's a reason the ancient sages, monks, warriors, and philosophers spoke so highly of discipline, because they understood discipline is not about control. It is about becoming someone the future can trust, someone your soul can stand behind. Discipline is not something you try. It's something you live. It's not a phase or a mood. It's a lifestyle. And like all lifestyles, it must be rooted in clarity, consistency, and deep conviction. This isn't about rigid schedules or punishing routines. It's about designing a life that honors your higher self, daily, silently, and sustainably. Your habits shape your destiny, not your intentions, not your goals, not even your feelings. Your habits. And habits are built through structure. Create a rhythm for your days, not just to get more done, but to protect what matters most. Protect your mornings. Guard your evenings. Give every hour a purpose, not as a prison, but as a path. You don't need complexity. You need consistency. You don't need motivation. You need momentum. Simple, clear, repeatable. That is the architecture of a disciplined life. To live with discipline, you must learn to say no, not out of rejection, but out of protection. You must protect your time, protect your energy, protect your mind from anything that weakens your spirit. Every yes must be earned. Every commitment must pass through the gate of intention. Discipline doesn't just ask, "Is this possible?" It asks, "Is this aligned?" Aligned with your goals, aligned with your growth, aligned with your integrity. Boundaries are how discipline moves from theory to embodiment. They are how you build a life that reflects who you truly are. One of the most underestimated virtues of discipline is the ability to endure boredom. Greatness is repetitive. Excellence is not exciting. Discipline is often quiet, even dull. But if you can fall in love with the rhythm of showing up, the magic begins to unfold. Discipline isn't about chasing highs. It's about standing firm in the lows. Showing up when it's not inspiring. Pushing forward when no one is clapping. In that stillness, you build strength. In that repetition, you build mastery. Discipline does not demand perfection. It demands direction. You don't need to do everything right. You just need to keep moving forward, one choice at a time, one day at a time. This isn't about intensity. It's about integrity. When you fall, get up. When you miss a step, Don't spiral, realign. True discipline is flexible. It bends, but it doesn't break. It knows that growth is a journey, and every step, even the imperfect ones, belong to the process. What you build in silence will echo beyond you. The habits you choose, the values you live by, the character you embody, they are your gift to the world, to your family, to your future. Discipline is not just personal, it's generational. You are not just shaping your own life. You are shaping the standard for those who come after you. Make that standard unshakable. Discipline will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you convenience. It will cost you the easy path, the quick win, the shallow praise. But what it gives you in return is beyond measure. It gives you power, not over others, but over yourself. And that is the rarest kind of power, the kind that cannot be taken, only earned. You were not born to drift, to live on autopilot, to exist in a fog of distractions, urges, and unfulfilled potential. You were born to command yourself, to rise above instinct, to choose your path with clarity and courage. That's what discipline makes possible. It takes you from survival to sovereignty, from chaos to coherence, from noise to meaning. The world may never see the discipline behind the dignity. No one may ever know how often you resisted temptation, how many times you rose when it would have been easier to quit, how many silent battles you fought just to remain true to your higher self. But that's okay, because dignity doesn't need applause. It only needs truth. And every disciplined decision is a declaration of truth. I am not here to waste my life. I am not here to live beneath my potential. I am not here to be ruled by weakness. You are here to live with strength, to walk with integrity, to stand firm, rooted, whole. So start now, not tomorrow, not one day. Now, pick one thing, one habit, one practice, and let it become sacred. Let your actions rise to meet your values. Let your standards become non-negotiable. Let your lifestyle speak for you, louder than any words could. Discipline is not a cage. It is the door to freedom. It is not the enemy of joy. It is the path to peace. You already have what it takes. The seed of greatness is in you, but only discipline will bring it to life. Live with discipline, not just for success, but for the self-respect of knowing you showed up, you gave your best, and you became the person your soul was always meant to be.